In excerpts from her upcoming memoir, former First Lady Melania Trump reveals her support for abortion rights, stating they should be free from any intervention or pressure from government. She argues restricting a woman's right to choose is akin to denying her control over her own body, a belief she has held throughout her adult life. Melania Trump posted a video on social media platform X to promote her memoir. Let's take a look at what the former First Lady had to say.
Individual freedom is a fundamental principle that I safeguard. Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth: individual freedom. What does my body, my choice really mean?
We're joined by Joshua Wilson. He is a professor of political science at the University of Denver. Thanks, Joshua, for joining us here this morning. Joshua, according to The Guardian that got a copy of the book, it says that Melania Trump says her beliefs about abortion rights spring from a core set of principles at the heart of which sits personal freedom, on which there is no room for negotiation. Some very strong words from Trump's wife there. How did you react to some of that language, at least the excerpts that have come through?
No, it's well, first, thanks for having me on. Second, it's pretty remarkable to have this coming from Trump's wife, right before the election, because what we just heard is she's echoing or embracing and deploying the language that we see being used by the Democratic Party and by those who, of course, support abortion rights. And so this is in direct contrast to what we hear from candidate Trump and what we hear from the overwhelming majority of the Republican Party.
Yeah, that's really what I was thinking about as well. Now, it's extremely rare for Melania Trump to even express her political views in public on really anything. Now, what does the release of this book really tell us in that case? Trying to make sense of it just like you are. On one hand, she seems to be out of step with the Republican Party in what the Republican Party wants on abortion rights. Is this some way strategic, maybe to appeal to women voters that Trump is really trying to win over, perhaps?
Yeah, so of course I have no particular insight into the Trump campaign here, and I find the timing of this all pretty remarkable. But if you want to give some kind of coherence to it all, the way to think about this is that the Republican Party has, ever since Roe versus Wade was overturned with the Dobbs decision, the Republican Party has had a really tough time figuring out how it wants to talk about abortion. They recognize that the overturning of Roe is deeply unpopular with a majority of the United States, but they also recognize that it is deeply important to certain core constituencies of theirs. And so they can't figure out how to navigate between those two poles. But if we think about what we just heard from Melania Trump, what we heard from J.D. Vance in the vice presidential debate, and at the same time period, we also get Trump coming out and saying that he would veto a national ban on abortion. I think what we're starting to see here is an attempt again to insert some nuance, or rather a new way of talking about abortion. So if we go back to, again, J.D. Vance in the vice presidential debate, he kept saying that the Republican Party has lost the trust of the US public and that it needs to regain that trust. And so you can try to filter this through that lens and showing that, all right, Trump might have this political stance, but Melania right next to him has this opposing one, and maybe that's a way to try to appeal to, as you said, women voters who are really turned off by the Dobbs decision.
All right, very quickly before I let you go, Joshua, just about 30 or 40 seconds. How much of a role does a First Lady, and in this case, potential First Gentleman, have to play in the lead up to the elections?
A pretty minor role, right? all the attention really is on the candidate. And then you could even say, there's a big drop between the primary candidate and the vice president. And so looking at spouses is definitely a step removed. But on the other side, we're talking about this now. Other media outlets are talking about this now. And so this keeps the abortion issue front and center right as we're moving up to the election.
Joshua Wilson there, political science professor from the University of Denver. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning here on NDTV's US Election Watch.